Welcome to the New Ulm Forum, a public affairs program of New Ulm Cable Access Television, or NewCAT. And the New Ulm Forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of New Ulm. League of Women Voters is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization dedicated to voter education and citizen engagement at all levels of government. We are a trusted source of nonpartisan information. Visit us on our website, follow us on Facebook, and enjoy the program. Welcome to the New Ulm Forum. Welcome to the New Ulm Forum. My name is Ruth Ann Webster. I am with the League of Women Voters, and today I have my dear friend and fellow League member and newly published author, we'll be talking about this book, Vicki Pieser. So that's me. This is the book. We'll be talking about this for the whole half hour. So
Perfect.
So Vicki, just tell us a little bit for people who don't know you. I know you've been a long time New Ulm resident, but for anybody who doesn't know you, introduce yourself.
I grew up in Temple, Texas, which is also a small town, and I met my husband at the University of Colorado, and he was a native of Brown County. He was born in New Ulm, and we married, and he convinced me that this was the best place to live. So I moved here at age 21 and found a couple jobs that suited my training. I was qualified to be a history teacher in high school, and I was able to teach sociology at Gustavus, so I had some wonderful job opportunities here and some life opportunities here.
Now, you work for the Historical Society, right, Fran?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, Kathleen Backer, who is very good at mentoring people, hired me to be the program coordinator, and then I also served briefly as the director.
Okay. And some people know this and others don't. You're a first-generation American, right?
Right. My mother was born in Prague. My father was accidentally born in the United States, but was raised in Poland and Russia. So they came here without speaking English, and with my sister, who was also born in Prague.
Okay. And that was in the 1930s.
That was, and they were very, very fortunate to be some of the few Jews that were allowed out of Europe and allowed into the United States in 1939.
Right. And let's just talk about this book again. Vicki's written a book, and I know she's worked on it for years.
That's a very kind.
Jews in Germantown, the diaspora in Brown County, Minnesota, right?
Right.
And I'll talk about this again too, but there is a launch party soon, right?
Correct. December 6th, it's a Saturday, and the director of the Jewish Historical Society of the Upper Midwest will be coming down also to meet with people, and they were the publisher and could not have done it without them.
Oh, wonderful. Now, why in the world did you start this project, which I know has taken up a lot of your time? How did you get started on this?
Well, I grew up in a small town without a Jewish community. Although I should say it had a larger, maybe 20 families at a time. So there was more of a community. And when I moved here, I was interested in who was here, how they lived, the history, and so it's always been sort of an obsession. And I started talking to Darla Gebhardt about it probably in the late 1980s, 1990s, and she was curious too, and we started collecting material.
Right. And collecting material how? From whom and where?
Just asking questions. I mean, I would meet someone who had been here in the 1900s, like Dr. Kurt Bell, Heine Somson, George Glotzbach. I just asked a lot of questions. I asked people in Springfield and in Sleepy Eye, and they would give me names, and I collected them, and I wrote to women who had grown up here in the 1910s and 1920s, and they wrote me back, and that I've saved those, and much of it came from their description of their lives.
Have you got some highlights of this decades-long search?
Oh, many highlights. I did not grow up with cousins and aunts and uncles. And so some of the women my age, I felt like they were my cousins. I was meeting people who had the same experience as I did. And some of them have become friends. And they led me to other sources also.
What kind of roadblocks or difficulties or challenges did you have to overcome?
Also, the descendants. Some of them did. I had a couple write me back and say, I think I could write this chapter better than you can, which was fun. Or I have 2 master's degrees. Let me, do something with this. But most of them were very helpful, and a couple did say, no, I don't want my family to be in the book.
Okay.
So that was a roadblock, and it wasn't really it was a hard decision to know how to present history in it, especially the Holocaust.
Okay.
And that wasn't as much a roadblock as a real challenge, because I did find some families that left Europe because of a specific incident.
Okay.
The Pink family left when in Romania, Jews were being blocked from the grain trade. So they left. So when I found those connections, I felt like I had to put the historical background in it, whether it was the Holocaust or expulsion, many, many, many reasons. And so I think I ended up force feeding some Jewish history on the reader, and it's not always clear, but many of the chapters have a history of the hometown of the immigrants.
Okay. Okay. Now, you have had some training in writing.
It's very kind of you to say that. It's been an avocation to go to writing workshops, and I think they're more popular now. And they were always more encouraging in hearing what other people were doing, and learning that my strength was in the personal story.
Okay. I was going to say, how did it help? Is that how it helped?
I think yes.
Okay.
In some ways, it was like a hobby or a vacation,
Okay.
but it was also helpful in discovering what worked.
What kept you going?
Well, COVID helped. This was a great project, and curiosity, and knowing, really liking the people in the book, really caring about them, and feeling sometimes protective about them. I mean, when you find a picture of a young man that looks like Rudolph Valentino and find out that he protected his brothers and sisters from bullies, and if he fell in love with a girl, he had street fights over her. I mean, he was a bad boy. It's hard to develop a crush on someone who lived in 1918 and died in World War I. But, I felt very protective of his family and of him and of their story. And they lived in Sleepy Eye for 4 decades. And
who is it?
this is Harris Isaacs was the father. And I'm trying to remember if there were 8 or 9 children. And they were all very independent. 2 of the girls ran away from home with an older man to find glamorous lives, which did not work, as you can imagine. One ended up in Sauk Center. But I talked to Elizabeth Scobie, who was a local historian, and she said, Marion Isaacs was my best friend, one of the runaways. She said, she read every book in the Sleepy Eye Library. So those kind of things kept you going, and I, felt very protective over Marion Isaacs.
Okay, right. Now, I know because I attended them that, maybe 15 years ago, you were going around and giving sort of oral presentations about the families that you were investigating. And so how was that different than the process of writing this, if it was?
Oh, that's a very good question. You and I have been friends for a long time. I'm not detail-oriented. So getting it right was really hard.
Okay.
Fortunately, I had Dr. Dan Grevner making sure it was correct. I know he fact-checked every footnote, and there's over 300.
Okay. All right. Yes, I know you've told me that he's a big help, and he's working on a book too.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. And so, segue, getting published. How, you are not self-published. This is not a book that you paid somebody to put together. Just talk about, how did you even start? Let me ask it this way. At what point did you say, okay, I'm ready, I have enough, I'm confident enough, and I can get this published? When did that happen?
Fairly recently. I was never someone who wanted to write a book. I liked small pieces. But, and I thought when I started that it would be self-published. But I realized if I had a publisher, it could give it more legitimacy. And I approached the Jewish Historical Society of the Upper Midwest, which covers South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and asked if they would be interested and started sending them pieces. And they, of course, suggested that we see if we could get a grant through the Minnesota Historical Society, which would certainly give it legitimacy. So, and that's very thrilling and very scary, but they took it on. Robin Doroshow, who is an attorney and director of the Jewish Historical Society of the Upper Midwest, really took me under her wing and took the book and the grant.
And I did not know there was a Jewish Historical Society of the Upper Midwest, but apparently they've published a number of things.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, right.
Yes. And about 25 years ago, they did an exhibit with the Minnesota Historical Society called "And Prairie Dogs Weren't Kosher," and they did a traveling exhibit, and that's when I was director of the Historical Society here, and they lent us their traveling exhibit.
Okay.
Pam Krismarczyk, who was curator at the time, attached a local exhibit to it. And we had a klezmer band, and we had a celebration. So we had met before.
I remember the Klesburn band.
Oh, they
in
were
German Park,
wonderful.
most beautiful day. Oh my gosh,
it was wonderful.
I want to dance just thinking about it.
Yes.
It was just fabulous. I just wanted to ask you this. Would you have any advice to anybody who had the same goals that you did in writing?
Yes, to find their niche.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be something you love, and you don't have to aim big. There's local publications. There's so many. There's church bulletins. There's so many ways to get started. Mm-hmm. And classes are wonderful if you can get some.
Well, and I gave this advice to. Why would I give advice? But I gave this advice once to a young person. If you want to be a writer, you have to write. Writers
Exactly.
write. Writers write.
Exactly.
And,
Yes. Mm-hmm. And you can look at that paper and think, you have to start. That's right.
yeah, right. You have to do it. Okay, let's talk about the book. Here's the book. It's available for purchase right now at the Brown County Historical Society. $20.
Yes.
Are you hoping to have more places where we can find it?
I'm hoping the other local historical societies, Springfield and Sleepy, I will pick it up. Okay. And yes, I am hoping that we'll get some other, and the Jewish Historical Society is also looking for some other venues.
Some outlets.
Right,
Some outlets.
Some outlets.
This is basically divided up into five sections.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna read each one and tell me if there's something that is really special about it. This is no surprise. The first section is Pioneers, 1877 to 1883.
And there is only one family there that fit into both Dan Grebner and a gentleman, a Jewish educator by the name of Earl Schwartz, said this needed divisions. And Earl had read it for the Minnesota Historical Society, and I was tearing my hair out finding divisions. But there was one family, Simon Lowenthal, and Darla had information on him, fortunately. And he was here not for the battles, but he was here for the tornado.
Okay.
And he was active in the Turner Society, and he became, and Dan Hoisington also helped me with that chapter because he knew of Simon Lowenthal. The hardest part of that chapter was I had the wrong Simon Lowenthal. And had written,
dear.
oh dear, and had written a beautiful chapter of his family's history back into the 1700s, and Dan Grebner said, "You have the wrong Simon Lowenthal," and he was correct. But it's still a good, fun chapter.
Okay. Well, then the next chapter was Scrappers, Grocers, and Independent Craftsmen, 1897 to 1943.
Right, and that's a mouthful. You
Oh,
kind of
yes.
think, how did they fit together? They were all immigrants. They all came with nothing except nothing, basically. But you could be a scrapper, you could be a junk dealer with nothing. And they wanted us to start here. There were at least a dozen scrapper families in Brown County.
Yeah, right.
So,
Interesting. And then third one, the independence of ownership.
Right.
Which you didn't have dates on that, but so you must have had to, pick from the clusters.
right, it does. It sort of fits in between. And people for sociologists and others say it is the desire to own your own business that drove most people to small towns, that they could get started. And so my husband's family's in that. Most of the people that were in retail came and started by themselves here independently.
In smaller towns.
Right, and people will remember, the Pinks and
right. Right. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And the fourth one is the Pull of Opportunity, 1953 to 1991.
Right, and that's people that came here because there was a job or there was a business that they could buy here, or I think that would include the Liebermans,
Right,
who started manufacturing here. Shell Epstein, who came with his family business, Wearwell
Okay.
Clothing. So, and it would include too, I think, doctors who came and stayed for a short while, but they came for a job.
Okay. And then the last section is the unexpected.
Right, and I didn't know how else to group them, but from 1918 to off and on, I think 1975, there was a German attaché by the name of Dr. Richard Sallet, who called New Ulm his home in the United States. And I'm sure he must have been brilliant and charming and very accomplished. But he was a propagandist for the Nazi army, and he's when I would tell people that it's going to be here, they'd say, "Well, someone's going to sue you." And I'd say, no, this is very well documented from the New York Times to government documents. And so it's a little bit of his life and how he felt he was protected here.
Okay.
And the other one is, the unexpected, is that there were at least two ministers in the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Church who converted from being rabbis to ministers.
Well, that is unexpected.
It is unexpected,
It's
right.
Unexpected. Well, that's interesting. Oh, have there anything that we've missed, or do you think that people who are listening have got some idea of why they should go and buy this book?
Yes. I think, yes. And there are many people who are curious about Ben's family.
Yes.
And that story is in there too, because they remember his father and his mother, and they have very, very interesting stories too.
Okay, good. And again, available at the Historical Society, and there is a launch party on Saturday, December 6th.
Yes, at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Yes.
And be there.
Yes.
Be there. Good.
Yes.
Good.
And I would just like to add that there were other, besides Dan Grebner, and I
Okay.
have to mention Darla, who's always been my partner in crime, and Robin I mentioned, and Betsy, who has another job in her life besides putting together a book, but she came to my rescue many times to get it into publication. And Earl helped me with the grant. We have a lot of and Kathleen Backer helped me with the Minnesota Historical Society. Dan Hoisington, who's very well known here, was extremely generous with material. So it was a group. I don't know what I would have done without any one of those, but very much a group effort.
It took a village, right, to get
It
this
definitely
book
took a village.
Good.
A very generous
Very
village.
Good, thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
Ruth Ann.
Oh, yes, right. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, enjoy.
Yes, good. Now, this is interesting.
Yeah. Yes.